This video is going to be about false friends in business or professional contexts. Let's begin. So in Spanish, when you're thinking actual, you might want to say actual in English. However, this should be avoided. If you say actual in Spanish, what you're really saying in English is current, because you're talking about something of this particular moment.
And in general, the whole strain of the current atmosphere in your household.
And of course, actualmente is currently as well.
Just the same, an attempt to recover the Grail is currently underway.
On the other hand, if you say actual in English, what you're saying in Spanish is something real.
The actual number is 406 and change.
So for example, let's put this in a context. Imagine you were discussing the cifras, the figures of a business. And you said you wanted to know the actual figures. Well, that would be interpreted as the real figures, not some fake figures perhaps. But what you might be thinking in your head is that you want the current figures, the figures of the current quarter or the current week.
And not just any new one. The current #1 hip-hop artist on the charts new one.
So just be careful with this difference.
I sort of felt the number you set wasn't realistic given the actual number of hours in a day.
You know, I don't need the actual number, just a ballpark.
I mean, the actual number fluctuates.
Asistir, to assist. Now, yes, there are times when this absolutely works, but often not. Asistir is really to attend. For example, the asistencia is the attendance.
First thing you do when you start a band...
Mr. Schneebly, before we start, shouldn't I first take attendance?
On the other hand, to assist is really ayudar. You are helping someone.
Can you assist us?
Can you assist me with this? It's effectively saying, can you help me? So be careful. You don't want to say to someone, I'm sorry, I can't assist the meeting. It's confusing. Are you helping in the meeting or are you simply attending the meeting?
You can notify Mr. Palmer that I will attend.
I will attend if I want, and I do want, and so does my wife.
My husband's out of town for work, so of course I will attend your dinner.
Now this one is really important. Compromiso and to compromise. Now if you have a compromiso, you have a commitment or an obligation. And if you are comprometido, you are engaged. Effectively, you are saying that you can't do something else because of your obligations, your commitments that you've already made. I can't come on Saturday, I have prior commitments. Or I have an obligation I can't get out of.
Well, you see, sir, we have prior commitments in the form of a reservation for your room today.
Now, this is a little bit more complicated. You might hear it in films, for example, like a spy film, where someone says, MI6 is compromised. What you're saying here is there's a threat.
The question is, can we be sure he's the only Secret Service member who's been compromised?
There is someone inside the organization that is trying to weaken it. You might also hear something like, the bridge is compromised. It has a crack in it. It is no longer able to support the load. But what we're really looking for here, into compromise, is hacer concesiones, to make concessions.
I don't want to make concessions to you.
For example, if you are engaged in negotiations, the idea of compromising will come up.
In the spirit of compromise, we'd like to make a proposition.
For example, let's say you want to buy something for 50 and the other party wants to sell it for 100. Perhaps both sides will make concessions, they will compromise in order to make a deal.
You might have to compromise a little bit. But...
Never.
So to compromise is to ceder somewhat, to yield on exactly what you want.
What I want to suggest is a compromise on both sides.
Pretender, pretend. Makes sense, right? Not really. At times, this will work. In history, there have been princes that have been pretenders to the crown, as in they are hopeful of becoming the king.
A sister who married the enemy king and now is mothering the pretender to my throne.
But they intend to become. But really we want to make clear that pretender in Spanish is to intend or to hope for something, whereas to pretend in English sería fingir in Spanish.
I mean, how charming can I be when I have to pretend I'm that dreadful ogre?
What I know is we need to pretend to be a movie crew.
We are going to pretend we're sitting in a little artist cafe on the left bank in Paris.
Another classic one. Preocupado could of course be preoccupied, yes.
However, Tom is a little preoccupied with protection at present.
But in English it would be better to say that you are worried. I am worried about what is going to happen.
To be honest though, I wasn't that worried.
Realizar, to realize. Be careful. To realizar something is to carry it out. It's probably the best translation.
Carry out your orders, Commandant.
A survey was carried out last week. They're carrying out various changes. Realize, on the other hand, is darse cuenta. I realized the other day.
My kids, I realized the other day, they don't even know of a time when there was no internet.
I realized the other day that I probably won't see her much anymore, and that makes a lot of sense to me.
Ultimamente, ultimately, be careful. Ultimamente sería recently.
I guess what I'm asking is, has anything changed at home recently?
Recently, we have been making more videos. You're talking about the recent period of time. Ultimately, on the other hand, is más al final or finalmente.
Because ultimately, if you're not comfortable with that level of responsibility, you're in the wrong place.
You might hear expressions like at the end of the day.
But at the end of the day, they're just a collection of buildings and sidewalks.
Ultimately, the most important thing is our client satisfaction.
But as state's attorney, it was up to you, ultimately, to decide.
Demandar and to demand sound very similar, but are different. Demandar would be to sue someone. Donald Trump loves suing people.
I can sue you and this airline.
On the other hand, to demand would be exigir.
I demand that signed statement now.
For example, you could describe someone as demanding. They are exigent, exigente. So it works as a verb, to demand. It also works as an adjective. They have a very demanding boss.
I know this, but I want to try and change because I believe people can change, and I can change and not be so demanding. And
Suspender and to suspend sound identical, but they're not the same. Suspender would be to fail. Suspendí el examen. I failed the exam.
We publish the names of all of those who try and fail the test.
To suspend, on the other hand, would be posponer.
Well, I suspended the search.
They have suspended the negotiations for the time being. They have postponed them. They have been stopped.
I suspended the drink service on the plane.
Asumir and to assume. Now, asumir, the best translation for this, in my opinion, would be to take on. If you are going to asumir más trabajo, you are going to take on more work.
You shouldn't feel obligated to take on more work just to prove your worth.
You have a workload, you have a pile of work, and you are adding to it. You are taking on more work. If you asumir más responsabilidad, you're going to take on more responsibility.
I'm going to need you to take on more responsibility.
On the other hand, to assume is más suponer. You believe that something is going to happen. I assumed that you were going to do it. I assumed that there wouldn't be a problem.
I assumed that your friend's parents would know if their children weren't responsible young adults and they wouldn't let them come over to the house.
Look, I assumed you understood that.
I assumed it was.
I'm sure you know this one. Fabricar is to manufacture. And fabric is tela. Easy. Una firma is simply a signature.
I need your signature on this page.
On the other hand, a firm is a bufete or an empresa. He works for a fantastic law firm.
Brett will stay at his law firm until he makes name partner.
Agenda in Spanish would refer probably to your diary.
Let me check my diary.
The agenda would refer to the order of the day, the orden del día.
So, what's on the agenda for today?
Finally, lectura and lecture. Lectura is simply a reading.
Tomorrow there's a reading.
A lecture, on the other hand, is más conferencia.
Well, by no stretch of my imagination do I believe you've all come here to hear me lecture.
A seminario or simply una clase. Now be careful with false friends. It's really easy to get the wrong idea and for there to be miscommunications, and that is exactly what we don't want to happen, especially in professional or business contexts. You want to make sure that you're communicating with absolute clarity whenever possible. Thanks very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.